Hello. This video is about software that uses AI tools to create meeting minutes from an audio recording, like from a company's quarterly earnings calls. I wrote this based on OpenAI's tutorial for creating an automated meeting minutes generator that uses their tools Whisper and GPT-4. The link to that tutorial is in the notes below. I've tried to improve on the code provided in the tutorial and corrected some problems with it at the time of this recording. Specifically, the code in the tutorial hasn't been updated to reflect the OpenAI Python API changes that they released back in early November. So I'll cover those changes. Here's the program. I'm using PyCharm as my development environment. We'll go ahead and start the program running so it can run in the background while we're talking through it here. First, the program uses PyDub, a function called PyDub that's not from OpenAI, to segment the audio file if needed into small enough chunks for OpenAI to process. Next, it uses OpenAI's Whisper to transcribe the audio into a text file. Then it uses the ChatGPT API to extract several items from the transcription: a summary, key points of the meeting, action items from the meeting, and it does a sentiment analysis. Those things were covered in the OpenAI tutorial. And then I've added two other functions: a function to extract the participants in the meeting and a function to search for mentions of items of interest specified by the user and tell us what's said about those items of interest if they're mentioned. Last, it combines all those into a single text file. In summary, then, the input is a single audio file, an MP3 file of the audio from the meeting, and the output is two text files, a transcription and then the meeting minutes. Next, we go into here the modules imported. PyDub, audio segment, math, and OS are all used in the audio segmentation to chunk the audio file down. And then the OpenAI modules here. And then I did also add some timing functions to track time that it takes to the program and the various function calls to run. So that's why there's an import time here. Next, we've got the OpenAI API key call, and I've just got my key stored as a text file in the main program directory. Next, I'll run through the functions. The first function here, split MP3, divides the audio file into small enough chunks for Whisper to process. I have it set to 25 megabytes as the default for now. So if the file's larger than 25 megabytes, it'll divide it into however many segments are needed to get it below each segment below 25 megabytes, so that Whisper doesn't have any trouble processing it. Now, to get this to work and to use the segment function of from PyDub, I had to install FFmpeg on my system, and I did have a little trouble with that. I had ChatGPT help me initially, and then I also had to Google some of the details. So if you don't have FFmpeg, this function will not run. It'll give some file not found errors. You need to install FFmpeg. Next is the transcription function here. Transcribe audio simply takes all of the audio file segments, transcribes them using Whisper, and then combines them back into a single text file, the transcription of the meeting. Now we get into the meeting minutes functions, starting with the abstract summary here. And each one of these functions is almost identical to what the OpenAI tutorial provides. A pretty basic chat completion function here specifying the model and the temperature, and then specifying a prompt. I didn't really make any changes to the prompt here. This is the same as in the OpenAI tutorial. Tell it how smart it is. Tell it what to do here, that I'd like to read the transcription and summarize it. A little more detail about what to do, and then a few things at the end, what not to do. Then to return the response, this is where there's a change due to the API update. The old line is here highlighted, and so the old format to extract the response from the chat completion is here. New format is here, so that's what it returns. Then we go into the key points extraction function, same as the tutorial, and the action item extraction. Then we go into the participant list. This is one function that I added here with a prompt telling it to identify the names and the roles of all the people speaking that it can in the meeting. Then we go into the items of interest extraction function. This is another new function that I added. And here we load up a ioi.txt file that is to contain a list of any of the items of interest that I want to see if they were mentioned in the meeting. And then I ask it to restate what those mentions are and also try and summarize what was meant by that mention. Then the last function here is the sentiment analysis, asking it to consider the overall tone of the discussion and emotion and tell us what it thinks about that for the overall meeting. Okay, here's the main program. You'll see I've added timing statements before and after each of the major functions to take a snapshot of the time so I can track how long OpenAI takes to respond to each of the major functions is the main reason I added this. So first we segment the audio. I'm starting with, and for this demonstration, recording of Ford's Q3 2023 earnings. So that's this MP3 file here that we're asking it to segment out. Then we transcribe it. And we write that transcription to a file, so we get that transcription saved as a TXT file. I'll comment it out here. I have a function or a set of statements here to read the transcription. So if I've already got it transcribed, I'll comment out the transcription and segmentation function of the audio file and just start the program by loading up the transcription. And we print out the transcription, then we create all of the meeting minute sections. So this just calls all of those functions for the meeting minutes: a summary, key points, action items, participants, items of interest, and sentiment. It creates the output of those, or it takes the output of those and combines them into the meeting minutes, and we print out the overall minutes. And then we save them to a text file called minutes. And then finally, we print out the timings for each one of the major steps. Now let's take a quick look at the program files here. So you can see this is the folder for the program. I've got my OpenAI key. I've got the Ford Q3 earnings audio file, the MP3 file here, the items of interest text file. So what I put for items of interest is batteries. I want to hear Ford mention batteries. I want to hear if they mention their competitor Tesla, and I want to hear if they mention the Cybertruck. And then we've got the actual program here. And it looks like since we've had the program running, it has segmented this MP3 into 3 MP3 files. Each one of those is indeed smaller than 25 megabytes. Let's see how the program's done overall here. Okay, looks like we're still running. Okay, a few minutes later here, program looks like it's successfully finished. We've printed out the minutes. Well, printed out this transcription in a single line. Printed out the minutes. We've got our key points, action items, participants, items of interest. It says batteries, Tesla, and Cybertruck were mentioned in the transcript. That's good. And the sentiment analysis. Overall sentiment was positive. And then here's our times. Segmentation took 134 seconds. Transcription took 326 seconds. And then each of the functions to create the various sections of the minutes took between 12 and 23 seconds, it looks like. Total time 576. And we'll have a quick look at the output here. The minutes themselves and the transcription are stored in the data folder. Here's our overall transcription of the earnings call. Starts with "Good day, everyone," and finishes with "Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect." So that looks complete. And then our minutes. This looks pretty good. I'm really interested in the items of interest and what it did with that. Said all three were mentioned. It restated exactly what was said. I'll go back and check that. And then it provides some explanation. Mentioned Tesla, exact mention and explanation, and Cybertruck exact mention. This looks pretty good. I'm going to do some work to start figuring out how repeatable this output is and keep on improving the program. Thank you. Oh, and I will load this into code into GitHub, and any input and feedback or changes are welcome. Thank you.